Hello, we're the Grateful Turners. I'm James Turner. This is my wife, Courtney, and today we're going to tell you an unbelievable story. I went through a divorce that nearly killed me. I almost died of emotional brokenness, and it was just the worst thing I've ever been through in my life. But through that dark period in my life, God used it to save my life. And there's a parable in Luke 7 that says, the tale of two debtors. One guy owed him 500 denarii and the other one owed him 50 and forgave them both. Who do you think loved him more? Well, I'm the 500. So I am so grateful. It's not a facade. I mean, it's genuine. I'm so grateful that God did what he did in my life. I mean, I grew up. The old me was just completely different from the way I am now. And so the unbelievable story is that I met my wife through a dream. Whenever people, ask that question, how'd y'all meet? And I end up saying that it used to be kind of shocking to say it, but now it really doesn't faze me anymore. And so what happened is my aunt, who lives, 5 hours away, just said that she had some kind of daydream or vision or something where she woke up and just thought James and Courtney. And she called me and said, hey, I had this little dream or whatever, and I think that you guys are going to end up getting married. I think it's, from God. I don't know, whatever. And so I was like, people try to fix you up, do all that. She said, look, I did what I thought I was supposed to do. Whatever you do is on you. So
yeah, and so she comes to me and says, this is Christmas time because her son had a Christmas tree farm. And I remember she showed me this video of James speaking at his church, and said, well, you wrote a book called It's Not Rejection, It's Redirection. And look, he's speaking on his being divorced.
That's essentially the story of my life.
Yeah, and so y'all are a match made in heaven. And I look at her and I'm like, are we?
This guy's been divorced, man.
I mean, I don't know if this is...
So anyhow, I'm from a small town in South Carolina. The D word divorce wasn't even in my vocabulary. And God ended up using it to have, some amazing impacts on me, especially by starting a divorce care group that I learned a great deal through. And so when I say we met through a dream, so I ended up calling her, and we would talk periodically over.
We were totally long distance
an
dating.
8-month period.
Every
night.
We
were not. She
for
gave
hours.
me nothing. We would
hours
talk
we
every
would
now
talk.
and then.
Totally.
We always end up debating this, but anyhow.
One night, we were on the phone for a many-hour every night conversation, which some would consider dating me. So I remember having to mute the phone because he said something. What'd you say?
I would have to have a wife that would genuinely just love me to my core, and I'm not going to mess around.
And you would wake up every morning
and say, wow, I can't believe we get to spend another day together.
And for some reason, on the other line, I just fell apart. I mean,
and I had no idea because she gave me nothing.
Because I muted him.
But anyway, so we would talk periodically over an 8-month stint. And then I finally got brave enough to get her to come to Jacksonville. And what was interesting, I mean, you got to understand is that, my mojo was destroyed. So I was automatically assuming rejection, right? And so the day before she was supposed to come, she ends up sending me a text after I had read her book. Actually, I'd read it, going through it fast as I could. And so she said, hey, I went to, Jiffy Lube or whatever, and they said there's something wrong with my car. So I just automatically assumed she got cold feet, blah, blah, blah. Well, I didn't even respond. So the following day,
and he didn't respond, so I thought he was just the meanest.
And the following morning, I thought about it, prayed about it. I was like, you know what? Just come down. I'll get you a rental car, or I'll come get you. It's a 10-hour round trip, whatever. So I ended up just texting her that, and then she said, it'll be too much trouble. I didn't know, but she was upset the night before because I didn't respond. And so we just went back and forth, and finally she just kept saying, it'd be too much trouble. And long story short, she finally ended up sending me this long text, and at the end of it, it said, this just could be redirection. And I just sent her a message back and said, if you keep going through your life saying that, you're going to die a lonely woman. She didn't like that, but 30 minutes later, she ended up saying, does the offer still stand? And I drove to Columbus, Georgia,
Pick me up.
and picked her up, 10-hour round trip, and we got married 6 weeks later.
It's a true story.
That's the unbelievable story.
And the amazing part about this is that we really believe that we were set up by God. He was our matchmaker, and our whole marriage was founded on Him. You know, we stayed pure, which wasn't that long of a time, but we just want to honor God in our marriage, and we want to learn and grow and share our story and be transparent, because here's the deal. From both of our backgrounds, we could sit here for hours. We've both been through a lot. We've done a lot of things, we've made mistakes, but if you're faithful to God, He can move the mountains. He will orchestrate your steps, and He will do the unimaginable. Like, we would have never crossed paths. I was the boho at the time. You were Mr. Preppy, speaking everywhere. I mean, but anyways, trust God and let Him guide your steps, and just watch what He'll do.
Amen.
Amen.